Hey, if you stumbled upon this video, maybe you've been watching a lot of bike repair videos, restoration videos. This one is kind of different because I don't have a shop. I don't have a basement workshop. I'm not a professional. I don't have a professional bike shop, but I'm pretty much a totally self-trained bike guy. I've been doing this for decades. I even worked at Trek in Waterloo, and this is like from their drone tour video. And that guy was me. That's me. And I I haven't seen this. I still have the top comment apparently on this video. It said that guy on Bike Beer Run 1960 there spent a couple years working there, adjusting, kind of like a quality guy or whatever. But I'm kind of like get this idea to my apartment here, and I'm going to show you three different projects. One is an update to a bike. One is a project I just recently started, and one is when I finished. I'm just going to kind of walk through my apartment and show you things and some hints or whatever if you're like me and you don't have like a dedicated workspace, how you can set up a workspace, how you can work on your bike and keep it in your apartment clean. You don't want to make messes and stuff. And probably the biggest thing is I live by myself, so I don't have to argue with a spouse or kids about what my hobbies are. So let's show you the first one. This is an update. If you see my channel of this Tre Multitrack, and this is kind of like linked from when I worked there. When I did work at Trek, I think once a year they would have like a little kind of a rummage sale of closeout items. And from the last time I showed this bike in a video, I did get these fenders from Trek really cheap. So that's a cool addition. I actually I bought this rack instead. I had a different rack. It was not this type where you have that rail system. And I found this bag at a thrift store. I think it was Goodwill by me. And it's kind of like the same era as this bike. It has that same logo. So I got an extra tire in there. Or not tire, but tube. And actually this is actually something else I found at Goodwill, was a Trek water bottle for the Soho bike. And kind of neat because you can carry a hot beverage in here, and it's designed to fit into any bottle holder. So that's cool. And this is a great bike. It's like it's always ready to go for like a trip into town, run errands, things like that. So, and the funny thing is, this seat, I'm going to show you the next bike I show you. I got the seat off the bike I'm going to show you of a project I'm starting. So let's go to that one, and I'll show you an aid to, if you get a bike, do a little research, because the parts, it may not be what was originally with the bike, and that's what I found out with this one. It's another Trek. It's a Trek aluminum 1200, and this actually has probably parts that are better than the original bike on it. When what I didn't do this recently, but I did find this at a thrift store too. I'll show you the price. And I went on like the Vintage Trek website, and I printed this up, and I found out that everything is stock on here except the former ride or owners. They actually updated, or I think updated to a triple Ultegra with the front derailleur of Ultegra and a Dura-Ace seat post, which is really nice. Everything else I think was original to specs of this bike. So, because you can see the mismatched tires, things like that. But I knew this was a very build-worthy bike. So what I did when I brought this home, being I live in an apartment, and I did this recently, I had this actually hanging up in my basement storage area for quite a while, because I had enough bikes. And actually the bike I'm going to show you after this is I I finished first. But I had that bike sitting around for quite a while. But when I brought this up here, it was pretty dirty, especially the running gear. I took the wheels off. Took the frame. It still had the seat on it, but what I did, and I never really thought of this until now because it's winter now, and it was just too cold out. I actually put this in my bathtub, and I upside down without the wheels. I did the wheels also in the bathtub, but I would fill a car wash bucket with the hottest water I could stand with like blue dish detergent, the kind that really cuts grease. It was supposed to cut grease. And then I also had a spray bottle of citrus degreaser, and I had like a soft brush and a bicycle specific brush for like the rear gears and stuff like that. And I basically went over it really well, tried to get as much grime and stuff off as I could. With the shiny parts, the railers and that, I'd spray those with citrus degreaser, and I'd scrub as much crap off of there as I can. Because if you're going to do this indoors, you don't want to get stuff dirty. It just makes it so much easier to disassemble a bike, and then you can do further cleaning and polishing up the parts at your leisure, like I like to do. But what trained me, I'd say, was pretty much self-trained. These are some books. I used to have some other books, but I found older books for older bikes through the years. Like, this is more of a all-around book. Simpler book with like a lot of photographs, things like that. Although I find drawings easier to interpret than photographs. This one I found, I bought new a few years ago. This one I actually found, I had an older version of this that I bought new many years ago, back in like 2001. I found this one at a thrift store for $2, and this is from like 2013. So it's got like all the relatively newer stuff. It even has all the electronic shifting stuff that actually I used to work with when I worked at Trek. So, but that's where this project stands right now. I'll show you parts that I've collected so far and used for this build so far. But I want to show you my latest one I finished, which would be a good starter type bike if you've never rebuilt a bike before. It's a vintage, modest but really decent early road Taiwanese steel road bike. Okay, this bike is called a SANWA. Now, you probably haven't heard about this make. I guess it was imported. I live in Wisconsin. I guess these bikes were imported from like the early 80s to maybe the late 90s by some Wisconsin company. And even among this bike, the stuff on here is kind of modest, but it's still quality stuff on this bike as far as components. And I'll show you what I did to it and what parts I added. Kind of want to get it out of the brighter part of the sun there. This was kind of an unusual color too. I did some touching up, and I had to mix I found some nail polish at the grocery store, and I darkened it with some black Hobby Mile paint and into like a little jar lid, like an artist's palette. And I touched up a lot of it. I didn't do a perfect job. There's still maybe a nick or two that's bare, but this was an easy project because these older steel bikes, they all had kind of standardized bearings and things like that, cup and cone bearings on the hubs. But I'll show you at the front here. See the lugs on there? It's a lug brazed chromoly steel frame. So you can see that there. And it was originally bought by some place called the Quiet Hut in Whitewater, Whitewater, Wisconsin. You can see down there it says Taiwan, Republic of China. This crank is a Sagino crank. It has this, it's like stamped, it's not like a cast, although obviously the crank arms are. This little plate is kind of nice. It's a chain guard. I think it's stainless steel. And I had gone over this with like a wire brush on a Dremel. I have this a little Dremel tool with wire brush. I was able to shine it up a bit. You see the components, that's a Shimano front there. This has got basic but decent diet comp brakes, caliber brakes. The rear also is just a named Shimano there. Rear derailleur road bike. Clamps on, bolt. Rear axle. These wheels are some Japanese. It says Japan on it. Same thing with the rims. But what I did to this bike is, like I said, it's easy to tear down and rebuild. I actually had found this computer. This computer came off of that black Trek that I just showed you. It was all there except for a magnet. I had an extra magnet, so I put that on. I like these older computers. I think they're kind of neat. They're easy to use. I did buy this light. It's easy to take on and off. In fact, I bought it as a kit with this rear light. This seat is new. This may or may not be good for this bike. It says commuter, so it's more like a flatter. It's not like maybe a true road bike seat. I'll find out how I like it when I first ride it. I did buy this. This is new. I like to recycle parts or use up old parts. I had these little attachment things. There was an Italian company. I don't know if you still get these things. It's called Elite. I actually put these on wrong, and this should be turned around, but I just wanted it so that these both go the same direction. I reused this bottle cage. Is actually black, and I kind of roughed it up, sanded it down a little, roughed it up, sprayed primer on it, and sprayed some like chrome spray paint that I had, so it kind of matches, because I just like to make a bike look halfway decent. So pedals, I had these pedals for a while. They're like brand new, so I have a use for those. But this is a great all-around, like, recreational kind of road bike, I think. Even the bar tape I had reused from some other project or whatever. Although these brakes, I actually bought these from some shop. It had Diacomp brakes with those little so-called safety lever extension things, and if you know those kind of brakes, it has like a little stick thing that sticks out for those levers. I really don't want to use those because I wanted something with like a hood like this that would fit. These are, I don't know, I bought these, if I can focus here, I bought these from some online bike shop in France, of all places. It's called Lusito, and they're kind of like, they're not super high quality looking. They're kind of rough looking, I think, but they'll do the job, for what I paid. So, but all around, this is a nice, I think, a basic road bike quality bike, basic quality, decent. And since I'm in this room, what I want to say about working on your bike, you don't need a lot of space. See, everything you see, this whole area here, that's basically where I did the assembly and disassembly of my bike with my folding work stand. And I have a toolbox, relatively small toolbox with every bike specific tool I used. I mean, I had other tools or whatever, general tools, some bigger wrenches, but you don't need a huge workshop full of tools to work on some of these basic older bikes. And here, when I like gather parts for a project, I kind of put things in a box and put it aside if I need to. Some of this stuff is new. Some of this stuff is, I found this, like this is, you know, I don't know, people, you want to use like a smartphone on your bike. This might be a lot, I think this is a safer alternative than like clipping it to your handlebars. I would be wary of that, but that's just me. This is, I have two of these seats. I never really use this one, but this is supposedly a really high-end seat. I think this was like, I think I paid like $100 and that was considered half price. This was a Physique Italian seat, and it has this little clip on for this. This will clip on, so I got like a handlebar. Here's another thing I say, look, I look at thrift stores for, sometimes you'll find cool stuff for like virtually nothing. This is a cat-eye cadence computer for like $2. And I found other computers sometimes, like the cheaper ones, for like, you know, $1 or $2. So that's where we're standing here. Decent tires for a decent bike. These are, if you've seen one of my recent videos where I did the Trek 400T, I put Continental Grand Prix tires on, which is supposedly a level above this. But if you're going to put really skinny road tires, I think get ones that are really puncture resistant. So those gator skins, I really like those because, well, I have them on my Trek 520 that I've had for like 20 years now, and they wear like iron. I mean, they're just great riding and durable tires. So, and I got I'm going to add a rack on this because I like to put racks on almost all my bikes. So I can't think of anything else to say, except I'm going to take this one out today for the first shakedown ride. And if you like this kind of content, like I said, not only bicycles, but as you can see, I got a lot of records and stuff like that. This is kind of like my interests on my YouTube channel. So with that, I'll say goodbye for now before this gets too long. So bye.